Good afternoon, everybody. It's RT here from Hxro Labs on Friday, April 30th, the last day of the cold months. Very strange. On our live feed, I'm looking like a blue Smurf, but I think it's coming through clean for y'all. So let me just refresh the YouTube, get this chat going. It's good to see you guys. I hope your trading week has been fruitful. Rumor, RT fighting Rob Levy in Dubai. Oh my God. I will spar with Rob Levy as long as we're using 12-ounce gloves and there's no tummy punches, because I am not ripped like I used to be. So I don't know about all that, man. I get a stomachache just thinking about fighting my good friend Robert Levy. But I am excited to see Cronje and Messi fight. I did see some trash talk on Twitter. I don't know what that's all about. If there's really a thing, if there is, I'll be watching. It's going to be entertaining. Looking clean. Okay, good. So Bitcoin's looking uppy. Altcoins puking a little bit, which if you look at an uptrend, there's downtrend, there's down moments along the way. And typically the way this works is you will get a move up in Bitcoin. And when it's kind of a sharp, quick move, that's where you get your dips in alts. Now, the big question, as always, is this the reversal? Is Bitcoin dominance about to rally for 4 or 5 weeks? And if so, should I be changing what I was doing? Should I be selling my altcoins, even though it's like this intraday dip? Honestly, I can't answer that question for you. That's part of your plan. But I will share with you today what I see on the chart, the analysis that I'm seeing, what I'm doing. I'm not rushing to short Bitcoin here. I think there's a lot of seeing some interesting takes on, trying to short Bitcoin here. There's just no reason to for me. I get it psychologically. We had a 10-day downtrend, very sharp kind of pullback on Bitcoin there for a week and a bit. And so naturally, you spend most of that 10-day down thinking, wow, when this goes back up, I'm going to short it. I want to be part of this down. The problem is that you missed it. It was going down for 10 days. That was a really interesting opportunity to short. If you nailed it during a bull market, it's not easy to catch those. And should it be your main focus? I don't know. But then you get 2 or 3 day bounces and people are rushing to short the first high. And that's just not recommended. It's not kosher. It usually doesn't age well. So I'm going to share with you guys what I see on my Bitcoin chart, where I think it's going. There is going to be a place, I think there are places along this path to try to get shorts if you want to, if that's your flavor, if you're trying to hedge your positions and all that. But we're in a bull market. I don't see the obsession with shorting. I just don't. Number go up. Typically in a bull market, the RR is to the upside. So RRR. We'll take a look at all that today. ID is in an interesting area. You guys know I've got a big bag. I've still got a big bag. Haven't really sold any, especially lately. I mean, I took a little off at the fib 1618. And I felt dirty about it. I was like, oh man, this is going so much higher eventually in my, according to my thesis. But I'm really glad I did. And obviously at this point, I feel like I should have taken more because now we're in a reload zone. And if you trade like that, fib extension, reload zone, fib extension, reload zone, then by the time you hit maybe, if I'm thinking ID is going to $5, whatever it is, by the time that price comes in, I can have increased the size of my bag substantially by trading those fibs along the way. So I did trim some and I have reloaded it. And I had an interview with Bob Reed, the founder of ID, yesterday. I got on with him on the stream, sort of offline. We're just doing a little pre-record. And we're editing that. We're working on that. And, it could be a few days. I was kind of thinking in my head, like, I'll edit it right after and I'll do a preamble and we'll smash it out there Friday night. But we're actually working with a different editor and designer for this one. Somebody who helped create this studio, actually. So I'm really excited to see what he can come up with. And that means there's a few more moving parts and it might take a couple of days extra. But we will chart it today and we'll look at it. And I can share with you some little tidbits, some sneak peeks. ARRR. That's right, Topher. That thing's been going crazy. I remember Pirate Coin, or whatever it's called, when that came out, and everyone was like, a lot of influencers were talking about it. And I was kind of like, whatever. And then, apparently lately it just blew up. Anyone having trouble withdrawing from Hxro? Not I. It's usually about a 24-hour batch withdrawal virus, so keep an eye out for that. Emailing support if you're really concerned, if it's been more than 24 hours, is a great way to do it. They're very quick. I know because I work with them, and they've been really impressive with their, getting back to you times. Lily, what's up? Good to see you. Ninja, hello. Odds on Messi on Hxro? I don't know that they'll be taking odds on that fight. It'd be weird, man. Like taking odds on a fight it's tricky because there's a lot of rules and regulations around real fighters. I mean, imagine taking a dive. It's very illegal, I think. So you get a lot of action on this kind of like meme fight, and could get ugly. Now, ZRX is looking good. ZRX pushing up to 7,175. Let's get to the charts today, guys. We've got one hot hour to spend together. The market is looking, as it always has, pretty exciting. 24/7 moving around. I'm going to switch over to screen share. Right up here. We tried to run 2 today so that I could kind of be like live chart. However, couldn't get it to work. 2 different browsers was not really working today, so the world said no. So right here we have ZRX, which is one we talked about on Wednesday after this $8 million market buy. Just bing, 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 bing. Somebody just completely loading up here. It's just kind of consolidating around, just above the pump chaser zone today since that stream. So, an interesting area to be looking at. If you zoom out, make it a daily chart. Can I do that? Oh, maybe I can do that over here. Got all my dominance charts up today. We're at a really interesting level on dominance. Wow. Where was it? Over here. So look at this. I think it's on this one. Yeah. Oh, no, that's from an old stream. ZRX USD. Was it here? Oh, dear Jesus. Oh, that's why. This is the perp. Here's where I was looking. Oh, wow. Okay. Just not here. Anyways, I put out a chart the other day. This is an interesting level on ZRX if you look at it. So let's just go do that on the right chart. Right here. Where is everyone? Where's all my chart ink? Oh. That's awkward. Might be just thinking about the entirely wrong chart. Oh, well. ZRX looks good. Point in case. We're moving on. It just looks good. That's all I can say. A little pump chaser zone off this retest of the reload zone. Everything's looking all right. More importantly, let's take a little zoom out right now because Bitcoin is moving hard today. First time in a little while. All this, like even this wasn't too harsh of a move. Altcoins didn't really react to this. But this move here today, if you've been watching this stream, if you've been following my analysis for a little while, if you're in the fib world with me, then what's really interesting is this double distribution. That's something we looked at a little while ago, and I think right here. And I was speculating as we were above range highs that we may need to come back in here and fill this in. And even though we did zip in here, look, it didn't quite fill it in. It definitely filled it in a little. It was hollowed out even more before. So the question, of course, is: are we done here? Is this a full distribution yet? And it's not. We want to see a full parabola. So my guess, and regardless of that, regardless of whether we have to come back in here, I'm not doing anything that remotely looks like shorting or looking for shorts until we're up into here, whatever that's going to look like. And that's what I was saying on Wednesday's stream after, we saw this live. That was like the Facebook non-event, sweep of the highs. Just kind of speculating like, oh yeah, you'll probably just come back down here and go back up here. And that's going to be an interesting area to look at. There is a 4-hour CME gap up there. That's going to be an inefficiency that the market wants to seek out, fill in, explore. And then once we get there, that's sort of been an objective for a lot of the bulls, at this point, as far as like some traders. So I could see them taking profits there. I could see weakness coming in, and I could see bears who have been patiently waiting, trying to come in here and get on their next short position. So that's sort of like the next thing I'm looking at. And if you were really bearish down here, and you were second guessing yourself and you were thinking, oh man, I'd really like to make money on the downside. Psychologically, that makes sense. It's been going down for 10 days. So you just want to do the most recent price action on the next one. It doesn't work like that though. If you were bearish here, if you really want to short this thing, which I'm not advocating, then this short reload zone is where you need to become a bear, not down here. This is where you get wrecked. As you can see, as soon as this came down, closed back above, zoop, squeeze it. Pump chaser zone, squeeze it. And so I think a lot of the people that I'm seeing, some of the Twitter stuff, like I'm short, let me know. They're going to be so sick of shorting because they've got stopped out, they got washed here, stopped out, washed again here. There's a lot of people trying to short against these highs. They're about to get washed out. And so by the time it gets up here, they're all like, okay, screw it, I'm done shorting. And that might actually be, where you can get like maybe a couple days, a little scalp short, midterm short. And of course, if you go to the weekly, you'll see Bitcoin dominance is at a key level. So we've had a really good run. I mean, this is incredible. I remember up here back late December, it was looking bleak. People were talking about new highs in Bitcoin dominance for the year for 2020. And, talking about moving all the way up here. Bitcoin's just going to take over the world. Everyone's buying Bitcoin. And it was the top. It swept these highs, if you want to say that on Bitcoin dominance, which you can't really trade, but it did. It swept the highs. And then it just dropped like a stone, consolidated for about a month and a half. And it's just been like this sick rally. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 weeks of straight down for Bitcoin dominance. So if we came in now to this 618 extension, drawn like this, so from the high to the pivot, and that similar to the way up, you can do extensions down as well. So that's one objective down here. We've got the 618 retrace drawn from here. And, that's sort of like a Wyckoff throwback to over here as well. So this cluster of objectives here makes me think we could be in for a little pullback in alts versus Bitcoin, a little wake-up call for Bitcoin. And it's interesting that happened today. As we arrived at this location, there's going to be a lot of people thinking the same thing. It's not rocket science. This is sort of this would be very normal as part of a bigger downtrend. So is it likely we just do another 8 weeks straight down? It's possible. ETH coming into some interesting levels versus Bitcoin, things like that. But, I wouldn't be shocked if we just end up fucking around here for at least a little bit, regardless of, do we go back up for a little or do we go straight down? No matter what, I don't see this just cutting like butter. Let's just put it that way. So ETH BTC, a little pullback today. And this is the main objective I'm looking at next. So let's get this sized up. A little better. So you have this breakout in volume. I mean, high time frame ETH BTC just looks like amazing. So let's just keep that in mind. I'm speaking like sort of like the next leg, not the year long. The year long ETH BTC looks incredible. Right now, coming up into weekly resistance, little fib extension, little chaos. I would expect, again, not to get through here without a fight. So if that's going to be like up, down, and back up, whatever that's going to look like, we are coming into, some area of resistance. And that can actually be really good for altcoins because Ethereum tends to lead, right? It's the highest, most liquid pair, highest cap, and then then you get the trickle down into mid caps, so trickle down into small caps. That's kind of what you want to see. So for those of you holding things sub 1 billion or in the low billions, which is suddenly now the whole top 100, or even like the sub 100 million, like those kinds of coins tend to see their day after the majors. So the fact that Ethereum pulled back here, that's nothing. That's just a single candle and an otherwise strong uptrend. That's normal. It's not bearish at all. And then if that continues up, but if it really just pauses for a bit, that's when some of the other coins may go wild. Because the best thing we can see is for Bitcoin to do well and altcoins to do well versus Bitcoin. That is the alt season. That is like the pinnacle of what we want. And of course, everyone's speculating on will we get it? Will it come? I think it might happen this year. I'm pretty confident it will. Some sort of mania coming in. So right now, zooming in a little more, we've just plowed up relentlessly, liquidating a whole bunch of shorts, no doubt, up through here. So any consolidation above this is bullish to me. And I'm not really, again, looking for any kind of exhaustion or worried about all that and thinking about that until we get up into this area. big fat CME gap over here on the 4-hour on that chart. And so probably going to do that, consolidate through here for a bit. And then it'll be like, okay, can I get a nice short setup? Is there a scalp in there for me? Because yeah, if we're going to sit around here and range for a bit, because that's a huge range, right? So just say it's whatever. We get up in here, make a high, break down. So there's your market fail. And then we pop up into that. And then we're going to come in down here for a bit. Like that's a $5,000 range. Come right down to range EQ. That's a $10,000 range. Yeah, I want to trade that. And right now, Bitcoin's doing nothing but ranging. Boop, 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 boop. So yeah, in a ranging market, these short reload zones, these long reload zones, these things are places to take trades against. And then if we break out and go to new highs and we trend crazy, oh, cool. It's getting long it. Can visit that when it happens. So that's kind of my thoughts on Bitcoin right now. Ethereum looking stronger still, looking incredibly strong. This is so fun to look at. Making new highs, nice uptick in volume here. I think, what was it? Over here. FTX has some really interesting views on Ethereum volume. Look at this. From Wednesday, we were taking a look at this, and you can see right as it broke to new highs, a huge consistent uptick in volume took place. There are buyers here. There are a lot of them, and they are supporting price all the way across here, 2150. And that typically, to me, speaks to like, I'm not too worried about like, oh, is this going to be, and then reject. Like there is support here at price. They're saying this is undervalued. I want to buy here. I think we're going way higher. And so in the near term, I think 3,000 makes a really good target. Midterm, 3,300 up in this kind of region. And it kind of looks the same across a few different charts. And so this is where I might start lightening my Ethereum bag through this. If I want to be a trader, I think we're going a lot higher eventually. But if I want to be a trader and I want to avoid sitting through something like this, like an 8-day drawdown of fairly significant amount. Let's see what that was. It's a 36% drawdown. So if I'm an investor, that can't bother me. I'm just like sitting here, I'm trending up. But I'm a trader, and that's 8 days and 36%. And that usually comes along with other shit. So the next place I see that potentially happening is up here. Whatever that's going to look like. So that, and that's normal. That would be like a really nice opportunity to pay myself, say, hey, good job. You did some trading this month. You made some money. And then if we get some kind of pullback down into the 2,500, oh my God, 2,500, such a high price to be bearish at, but that would be a really nice drawdown. Let's say it did touch chaos and then go there. That's only 22, but I can make that trade. So, but it's not as easy as like, here's a target. I'm going to sell here. I'm going to short here. There's so much more going on. Say like on a 4-hour, I want to see a high, and then I want to see a higher high. I want to see the MACD. I want to see the RSIs both in divergence. I want to see volume starting to fall off. If I see all those things, then maybe I take some off. But not just like blindly setting asks here and trying to short this bull, because that's crazy. There's a lot going on for Ethereum. There's a lot coming up for Ethereum, and this is just the local view. I bet if I zoom out, there's some even crazy targets like the rest of this chaos level up at 48. Do I think that'll hit sometime this year? Yep, probably. So this is all about stair stepping. So that's the next major area of interest. Hellstone also wants to know about my bets. I don't know what's going on, man. I'm like, I really just want to see it. I don't know if I'm going to place money down on those fights. I still don't really know how serious they all are. But I think it's hilarious that everyone's like, who are you fighting in Dubai? I don't even know. Like, what's going on in Dubai? Is there suddenly an event? It's the first I've heard about it. Yes. Max asked a question. He says, is there anywhere I can look into the tokenomics and fee benefits of Hxro token? Yes. There are a few different things on our Twitter. It's a good question. Like right off the top of my head, I don't know where I'd say go get those. But I know recently they put out the light paper for Hxro Network. That's definitely what you want to read. And that should be on the Real Hxro Twitter. So check out Real Hxro Twitter. Somewhere in the last fight, Jonesy, I'll fight you online. Let's go play some vids. Jonesy and I played some Call of Duty back in the day. Back in the summer. Way back in the day. It's good times. BSV. Oh, God. Look bottomed out. Bullish break structure, Wyckoff. Can you have a look? Yeah, I could try to look at BSV, but I might throw up. Let's see. See if we can start out our chart request with the lovable old BSV. Yeah, it does look bottomed out, but like, ugh. I want to trade things to the long side that I believe in. Why is this here? And I just don't like this coin. But nobody ever made money having opinions about coins. Just trade the charts, right? Have some fundamentals. But yeah, there's nothing about buying a Bitcoin SV, Satoshi's vision. Nothing about the drama between chains on Bitcoin I find exciting. But if you see a setup, you're right. Like as far as all of this goes, it suddenly does look like it might be ready to reverse. I will tell you that. I will give you that, sir. And if you take this big breakout, this high thing, you slap on a little reload zone. There was your 786 fill. There was a trade opportunity there for a good entry. And now you're kind of safe. I mean, we talk about this all the time, guys, but like actually start doing some of this where you just see nice breaks in volume and then set some like 702 bids, 786 bids. Because then even like right now, you could just be like stop loss break even, 100% risk-free, guaranteed risk-free trade, aside from systemic risk of like whatever exchange it's on going down, obviously. But and then you just see how it goes. I mean, imagine that's your entry. You stop loss to break even right now, and then you just watch this thing trend up for like 3 months. You just trail your stop loss up at new pivots. So sweet. Ray is one I would love to look at. Let's go take a look at Ray. Is this where it was? I don't know. I've been watching this one like a hawk. Kind of traded myself out of it a little bit. I think I went too hard too fast. Bought a little spot. And that's all I've got now. I was trying to perp it. And then I bought the range lows here. And then I saw this breakdown. And so I exited at the retest. And it's still going up. So too bad, so sad. But this, it's something I shouldn't try to overthink and overplan. I should just really be like adding some through here and then just chill for a bit. Because based on what we saw on Wednesday, like $8 million is being bought right here. Like, like somebody knows something. And I'm sure that fairly soon we're going to find out what they know. And we're going to see it reflected on the charts. But is there a sexier play? Well, I think anything directly Solana related at this moment in time is hotter. Same with Matic. Matic is, Jesus, so hot. But let's go look at Ray. Old pay-to-play Ray. Ray looks good. You know why it looks so good? Aside from these higher lows and higher highs gradually suddenly happening, but you also have rising volume. So there's a larger storm brewing here according to all the data on this chart. So you have higher lows, higher lows, higher lows, higher highs, higher highs, higher highs, and a nice kind of parabola forming in volume. Don't be surprised if we get some huge volume here soon. I should go buy some more Ray. I have a little bit staking, and as I mentioned on Wednesday, it is like stuck right now. I switched computers, and I think there's like a pop-up blocker. I don't know if any of you guys are like a Windows Ledger, MetaMask, ideally even Solid wallet wizard, and you want to DM me with a fix. My problem is that when I click the Solid wallet and I connect it to my ledger through that, there's like a certain path I have to seek to get to my ledger because I did it like a noob. And when I do that and then I click to execute a trade or in this case withdraw my stake because I want to move it onto a easier to access wallet, it just doesn't execute. It sits there like there's a pop-up blocker or something. So I don't know. It's stuck for now. I already moved like one Sol token out of that wallet just to prove that, I have the key and it's fine, but there's some kind of pop-up blocker or firewall or some shit that's stopping it. So it's annoying. But I got my Ray staked and I want to buy more. Like I'd love to be long. If you look at this thing on the daily, what a sweet little retest. What a sweet little retest. 1250. It's up to 13. Getting anything that's kind of like resting along here seems pretty juicy. if you believe in this, if you think it's going up, I see rising volume, I see a rising trend. And typically, just like we saw with Matic, these things tend to end in like ridiculous moves. If they're going to end, or they just keep trending up. But eventually the trend does accelerate. I'll give you a great example of that. With Matic. Full chart history here. Yeah. I mean, look at this thing. So let's go back. And we're like, okay, so what did Matic look like when it started trending up? Kind of similar, right? You have sort of a breakout, rising volume. Okay, get that little retest on. Okay. Play it forward. Really strong move off that. Like, where the hell did that come from? And then we're just going to trend up, trend up, trend up. And you see the same thing happening, right? You get the recent highs became the recent lows. Not as clean. Like, that's a deep wick. If you're trying to do stop losses, measure risk, you're going to get stopped out like with this kind of retest stuff. So it's easy in retrospect to look at, but it's not easy to do up front. You kind of, just climbing the stairs. It's all good. We're still only at 20 cents. And same kind of thing, right? Getting that recent high. I made it really fat to cheat, so it'll touch, but whatever it is, it comes down, checks that level. Sideways for a bit, and then just extreme acceleration again. So do we come back down now to test that? There's a decent chance of that. It doesn't look likely here because it's like, wow. But point being, a couple things. First of all, there's your SR flip sort of way to climb up with an uptrend without getting wrecked. And then also you just have this acceleration of trend. Where it's kind of slow, whoa, fast, chill, super fast. So going back to Ray, I could totally see something like that happen. And this is where fundamentals come in. Where you got, you want to look at a project. Like the reason I was looking at Matic back in February is because they switched over and they pivoted to Polygon, which I looked at and I was like, holy shit. These guys, like, they just totally expanded on what they're doing. And it didn't really make sense to people until the L2 and the quick swap and all these things, and people realize how cheap it is. They saw the transactions. Most people won't flock into a good idea until it's really fucking obvious. So part of your job and part of my job as an analyst is to spot these things before they're obvious. And Raydium, AMM, Raycelerator, Solana, it's not obvious yet, not to everyone, but it will be, I think. That those are going to be around to stay, that they're going to grow, and there will be demand for the token, which is what's going to drive us to the promised land. So yeah, Ray looks great. I think you just talked me into getting a little more Ray. Want to stay and play with a little Ray today. What do you say? Let's go to FIDA. I did something with FIDA this week that I don't often do. I DCA'd some FIDA, same kind of thing. Right? Just like a slow meandering uptrend. Usually they end with some accelerated move or continue with one. So I got some FIDA. I got some maps. Same kind of thing. Meandering uptrend. These are all Solana projects. I got some Oxy. Now Oxy looks a little closer to Ray. In fact, I'm about to fill Oxy. Wow. I had another bid at 3. So it's at 305. So I think I'm actually about to be the proud owner of even more Oxy. And what's really cool about this? What's really cool is that, like, this looks so similar to the others, but it's earlier in the pattern. So you almost have this preview of like, oh, what does like a Solana project get for us? And you see with maps, you see with Ray, you see with FIDA, and then you look over here, you're like, oh, cool. Well, I have a preview of kind of what's happening to these Solana projects, and this one's on the cheap. And then if you remember, Dan mentioned on Wednesday that the Oxy protocol, I think is like Oxygen, is kind of like a borrow lend ecosystem, DeFi on Solana. And they're going to be onboarding the Maps user base, or at least offering it to the Maps user base, integrating with. And they have something like 65 million users. So tell me when that news hits or that kind of offering hits and that kind of access is provided, that this thing doesn't catch some waves. And I'll tell you you're a liar. So doesn't look super hot this minute. If you want to call that resistance now, kind of resistance, rejected. come back. But there's another way to look at it. And this is probably, this is my favorite. So you have your W, you have your low, you have your higher low, and then you break out. So this to me is the confirmation that we are going to go higher. And the coolest part about markets, or the hardest part about markets, if you don't do it properly, is that after that confirmation, it's so easy to just want to ape in here, be like, yeah, we're breaking out. And then you spend days, sometimes a week, getting squeezed, and you just change your mind. You're like, oh, I was wrong. What a fake out. Market manipulation. Weh. And then that's actually where I've learned to buy. And that's the reload zone. Or in some more aggressive cases, the pump chaser zone. And so you wait for that confirmation. You don't get too excited. You kind of have to sit there and accept that it may just go without you. That happens sometimes to guys like me. But more often than not, after that confirmation, whatever market, whatever asset, it'll just squeeze out and it'll wash out the easy money, because there's no easy money. And it's things like this that it gets down there. You have to still remind yourself, like, I know based on this close that this high probability continuation sometime soon. And it didn't come on no volume. I mean, look at this volume. This says I want higher. So yeah, I'm going to be loading up at 3. I have my bids at 3 right now. I'd like to get a little more. And if I can, and it gets into here and it's like looking extra saucy and it really consolidates for a bit, and then there's a little volume pump and it breaks out a bit, get that retest, like I might even take a little leverage long there. I don't know if I want to just lever up into this, because sometimes this takes a little time to sort itself out, like this one did. Kind of consolidate here for a bit. But, I'm keeping an eye on oxygen. I'm not changing my mind just because after this breakout it came back. That's exactly what I hoped would happen. So keep that in mind for those of you who are like, is it dead? It's not. In fact, it's basically confirmed it's going to go higher. So everything it does now in terms of dip is just good news for someone that trades that trades that kind of way for me. Like a me. Thoughts on Matic? Super bullish, Boris. I have a hard time buying it at 80 and 90 cents just because I was buying it at 4 cents and I sold most of my bag at 25 and 40. I sold the rest somewhere in that consolidation around 40, 45. I don't have any anymore. It makes me sad. I'm so bullish on that project. I actually fell asleep last night wondering, of all the random bags that I'm kind of holding like mid to longer term, or at least for the year, I was like, why did I end up with no Matic? But it is what it is. Really great trade this year. Probably one of my best. But I don't have any right now. I'm super bullish on it though. So I'm glad you asked. Ooh, Step. Let's take a look at Step. I don't think it's on here. Oh, it is. Step Finance. Uh-oh. Not a lot of data on Step. Let's go see the 1 minute, because it looks like we could do the 5. 1 minute's like super weird. Yeah. I mean, I don't like trading charts that don't have much data. There's not a lot here. This is not too meaningful in terms of like, where's it going to go next? And often when you get a new project that's just started launching, there's people who already own it because they were in the pre-sale, they were in the IDO, ICO, whatever it was. And then there's people who have heard about it and they missed all those earlier opportunities. And so they rush in to buy it as soon as it hits. And so you kind of get this equilibrium after a day or two, or I don't know if that's the word, but Dan has a name for it. There's some kind of pattern. Basically, it's like comes out, it's super exciting, but then all those guys who are in really good profit, usually from a pre-sale or something, they come out and they sell it. They say, I'm going to get my free position. I'm going to take a little profit. And then often you'll get something like this. And then that's sort of where everyone just takes their sides. Yeah, go figure. It's usually somewhere right in a reload zone. And then you can watch for things like rising volume after the, and then you can watch for the breakout, and then you can catch the dip and go. So that's sort of what I would be thinking for Step. I have this, my risk here is that I'll say all that and it might even be bang on, but then in a week or two, or in this case, it looks like 3 days because it's a 5-minute chart. I may just miss it. I may just forget to come back. So on that note, here's what I'm going to do. 6:08. I'm going to set an alert because I actually do want this. If it's a dot finance project on Solana, I would love to have exposure. It's part of my basket thesis. So if it breaks below here, I am going to start watching much closer. I'll set another alert at that point for here, here, here. And if it makes new highs, I'll do the exact same thing from those new highs. And it very well could. Sort of have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay. Local high maybe in. ABC, do that thing, then go. But this thing needs time for me, for the way I trade. It's like first day trading. I don't fuck with it. So I hope that makes sense, guys. I'm sure Step is dope. I'm sure it's going to have its day in the sun. These early Solana projects, with the kind of excitement that's building around Solana, I'd expect pretty much all of them, unless the tokenomics are just atrocious and there's just like a trillion in supply and no demand. Like I would expect most of them to catch some kind of wave. More Step data in the Serum charts. Oh, interesting. Oh. Because it's trading on Serum before it was trading on FTX. Yeah. Good to know. I wonder if I can get it on CoinTrader Pro. Sometimes you can get everything there. Let's see. Second it came out. Oh, is that it? Is this the one? No. Doesn't look like it. That's too bad. Step. Okay, maybe this is it. What? One Step Finance? No. The hell? Thanks, CoinTrader Pro. Just Step Finance. I don't know. It's charted Ray. Oh, Tom, you just missed the Ray train. Sorry about Serum looking more bullish than Oxy. Oh, yeah, let's check Serum. I forget about Serum, but it's a baby. Not too I'm not watching Serum quite as closely because I've talked about this before, but I have my free position and I'm mostly just riding it. I actually did load some here last weekend when I put out those charts on our Twitter because I was like, holy fuck, this volume was exploding into that dip. But I thought, but that's just a trade. So let's go see. I've got I think it was here. God, a little scattered today on my charts, like where the one is that I was looking at. Not sure which one has all my ink on it. It's weird. Sorry, guys. Serum USD. Nope, I don't know. Had one with a lot more ink. It's the one I've been charting. Maybe it's over here. Yay, there it is. Okay. So yeah, I mean, I think, oh, look at that. Sick. Okay, so in the newsletter this week, what was the low? Oof, 851. In the newsletter this week, in the heat map section, I did include Serum, which I usually don't do because of how high up it was, but I just thought, damn, this thing is so strong. That volume was so hot. And there could be a really nice continuation trade from 850. And that's why I said it, because this throwback looked pretty probable and it hit 851. Close enough. Maybe somebody reading the newsletter bid and front run me. That's why it only made it to 851. Who knows? I don't think we have whale readers, but you never know. Somebody put the floor in at 851, and now it's all the way back up to 980. So that's a pretty sweet dip and go of like 15%. And yeah, I don't think it's done at all. Like not even locally. Like surely, okay, 5 years out, this thing's gonna be whatever. But I don't even think I think this pump out of the zone doesn't stop until 12 and 14 bucks. So keep that in mind. FTT, hell yeah. Take a look at FTT. Looks good here. Wow. You can see locally. I mean, FTT's got such a built-in demand. It's going to be really hard to I'm not going to sit here with a reload zone and say, ooh, when it comes to the reload zone, it just, unless FTT stops growing or FTX stops growing, or there's some massive market downturn. But even then, BNB is probably the best equivalency coin to FTT. In last bear market, it basically was in a bull. It was it became like the gold of the crypto market. Everyone's like, oh, rush to gold because the market weak. And that makes sense, because even in a bear market, exchanges are making money. In fact, during all volatility, they just rake it in. And so those users, those traders, they need that token to get their fee discounts. This is why I was so bullish on exchange tokens when I discovered BNB back in September 2017. It just makes sense. So FTT looks good for continuation. The dips on FTT are scarce. They don't go for long. It's really hard to train yourself as a human to buy things when they're going down. Even if you're like, I'm a savvy trader and I know that I buy dips, like, raise your hand. How many of you didn't buy the dip on Bitcoin just because you're waiting for the better dip? Because you're sitting there with your cash, you're like, oh, I'm going to buy this dip. Wait, where should I buy? So you go on Twitter, you see, 100 different charts, all these different levels. And obviously, we want the best level. We want the level that is the deepest part of the dip. I don't want to buy here and watch it go down another, 20%. And so often, though, you get left behind. That's what happened here. So a lot of people, I remember very distinctly this day, myself included, I actually had a bid down at range lows. I was like, when it sweeps these lows, I'm going to fill. I didn't have all of it down there, but I definitely had a bid down there. So I get it. Psychologically, up here, you're like, oh, if it would only dip to 48, I could buy it. Then it gets here, and you want that, and then you miss it. It's crazy. It happens all the time. So don't feel bad. If all that happened to you during those dips, don't feel bad. It happens to the best of us. And really, what you should be focused on if you're trading is month-over-month equity growth. So one bad trade, one missed opportunity, those things don't affect, a bad month. And then you got to ask yourself, was it a bad setup? Am I making bad decisions? Am I breaking my rules? That's where the journaling and the analysis and the reflection come in. Is if you don't know why you're losing money, you're setting yourself up to lose a whole lot more. So sometimes the trade goes bad and I lose money and I'm like, fuck, I made a mistake. I entered too soon, or I didn't exit fast enough, or I added like an idiot halfway to my stop loss. Or, there's a thing I did, and I can analyze that and say, okay, don't do that. And then sometimes I just trade it perfectly and it hits my stop loss and I lose money. I don't mind those ones. That's part of the trade. Sometimes you just do the perfect trade and you get rinsed. And sometimes it's like really nasty. Like, just say you had a stop loss here and you were long, I don't know, somewhere nearby. Like I often like to just say, okay, wait for the low to come in, then wait for the bounce, and then buy that reload zone, stops at the low. Well, if I did that here, which I didn't, but if I did, I would have bought here, and got stopped out, and then it would go. That happens sometimes on that setup when I do that. Was it wrong for me to take that risk? No. Because if it hits, like it did once with XRP at 28 cents, and then it rockets to 70, like you're like, oh, made 70K or whatever it was. And then for this one I get stopped on, it's like, oh, I lost 5. Like, it's all part of the game. So I don't know why I'm ranting about that now, but I got caught off guard ranting. Now, FTT looks amazing. It's sort of in a tricky spot for me locally as a trader. I'm like, oh, okay, we're up into a short reload zone. This is where I have to look for things like exhaustion. But again, fundamentally, I've got all my FTT staked on FTX for all those said benefits. You get like airdrops. I think I get like Serum tokens every month just for having my FTT staked. I get reduced fees and I trade there. So it's easy for me. I just lock it up. Got a big bag. Not like a huge bag. I mean, it's sizable. It's not like I bought 25,000 of them at $1 though. Should have. I actually did trade it down there. Got stopped out. Oh, fine. We'll go look. I know everyone wants to see the big gnarly candle that ruined my day. It's actually pretty gross. It was savage. Here it is. Oh, yeah. I remember that. I remember that wick. That sucked. It sucked more because of where it is now. And I was so salty because I was kind of in an investment mode with this. And of course, that's like, ooh, what a sick fill. But I don't know. I think I ended up having my stop loss below this pivot low, thinking like, yeah, I'm just going to, as if like, what am I thinking? Like, oh, if it goes down there, FTX is going to close. Like, I don't know. But that is a savage wick. And I was so butthurt about it. I was like, fuck yeah. And then I never bought it back, like locally anyways. I think I ended up buying some at like a couple bucks. But anyways, yeah, I'll never forget that wick, especially not now. Where are we? Oh, yeah. Look at this shit. That wick gets more painful the higher we go. Oh, it's all good. Okay, enough about FTT. The PTSD over here. Could I look at SXP? Hell yeah, we could look at SXP. Let's do it on this chart. SXP. Here it is. I keep seeing these absurd targets for people on Twitter. What is it with people on Twitter? You know what? I'm going to look at it on KuCoin. A lot more chart history. Yeah, there we go. Wow. Just looks like it wants price discovery, doesn't it? God, this looks good. It just looks good, Brian. Let's start fresh. Like, oh, Binance partnered with a Swipe or bought them rather. Dip into the reload zone. I mean, God, it looks so easy in retrospect. So easy. I was trying to get long on SXP during this retrace. I remember it. I was tweeting about it. I was like, yeah, I'm longing. And then I lost all flavor for the long side somewhere through this and just kind of stopped paying attention. It's amazing. It's amazing market's ability to draw you in at the wrong time and then bore you to death at the time you should be paying attention. I don't mind. It's like whatever. God knows what I was doing through here in January. Long in something else. Sure it was. But look at this. You got the big pump and dump on that news. Wash it out. Clean it up. 88.6 throwback. And now just this massive push in volume. Now the most recent high came on the highest volume. So is that the top? Highly unlikely. And so you got to ask yourself, well, how do I trade this thing? Depends what you're looking at. You know, what's your time frame? If you just want to hold something like this till the end of the year, probably anything in this consolidation is safe. Like, you know, safe, quote unquote. Like it won't matter if you're right or wrong. This won't make a difference. If you're waiting a year, if you're waiting a week, I would not long it here. Nope. Because you never know. Might get a little fib pong. We'll make it hard for you. Bore you to death. And then next week or month it goes. Who knows? That would be June, though. That's a little weird. I think May is going to be so hot. Oh, it's going to be so good. So we're in this short reload zone, which is crazy. You know, it's unfortunate because during that big dip on Bitcoin is when you got all these really nice throwbacks to pump chaser zones. Case in point, right here. And that's really where you want to be getting aggressive. But most people were looking at Bitcoin saying, is the bull market over? Really hard to train yourself to do that. The good news is, guys, if you're looking at this, if you're hearing what I'm saying and you're like, damn it, he's right. Should have been looking. This is normal. This happens all the time. I've talked about it, for months now. And we just keep seeing it. Same old thing. So it doesn't matter if you did it last week or not. You can do it next time. You can train yourself to learn these things. And that's what I have to do. Did I go buy every single dip in a reload zone or pump chaser zone last week? Nope. But I did load up on Serum, which paid well. So, but yeah, this was another one of those really nice. I don't know what to do with it right here. It's on like a 5-day rally, so I'm probably not rushing in to put size here. But you can always just kind of fractal these things, you know. On the local kind of view, the soonest I could get AP is right around here. Probably won't, this probably isn't the local high, so this probably isn't valid, but that's just what I mean. Like if I'm FOMOing, I always just follow it with this and FOMO into that 382. It's a safe FOMO, safest way to FOMO. X nodes, OX nodes. Thoughts on project called OX nodes? I've heard of it. I'm pretty bullish on it. I'd have to look into it a little closer to speak on it today or, on here, but I've heard good things. May or may not have a bag. That's all I'm going to say. Why would it be bad to add halfway to the stop loss? Well, Grant Lyons, it's not that it's bad. It depends on your trading plan. Typically, if something's going against me, I don't want to add to it. I won't close it. My stop loss is selected for a reason. It's in a place where, I feel that my idea is invalidated. So I'm not going to close halfway to my stop loss. But adding to something like that is not ideal. Typically you made your entry, made your stop loss, you set your take profit the way I trade, and then you just let the trade run. Be easy on yourself. Don't try to overthink it. So when I go and add halfway to my stop loss, I got to ask myself, was that part of my plan? Was that part of my initial setup? Am I just adding because, I want to average down and I feel stupid? So it depends on your plan. Some people ladder bids, in which case, if it's, like I said, if it's part of your plan. I wish I could illustrate an example. I'm kind of coming up short on ideas for exactly how to illustrate this, but just say, pump chaser zone or the POC, you were going to long and whatever. Obviously, it's easy to say my stop loss is here, it never hit, but if I get my fill and then what am I adding here? And then I got to increase the size of my stop and it just changes everything. So I typically will try to get into a position, even if that's with laddered entries, but it's all preset and then you just let it run. Because that way you can analyze your data and say, every time I get a dip to the pump chaser zone with rising volume, a bullish divergence on the MACD and a bullish divergence on the RSI, I will take a trade for 1% risk in my portfolio and I will set my RR to 3-1. That's a set of criteria that I can just follow robotically. And then I can do that 50 times and I can analyze the data from those 50 trades and I can say, oh, that's got a 66% win rate, which by the way is really high. So it's wishful thinking. Although it's also really rare to get rising buy volume into a big dip into a pump chaser zone. So I might only get like 10 of those trades a year, but whatever. So yeah. But if I start adding randomly on halfways to my stop losses or cutting early or doing all these weird things, then that ruins all my data. I can't decide if that setup is good based on 50 trades because I did all these fucking weird things in the middle. So I hope that answers your question. Yeah. Grant Lyons. And I'm the same way. I'm not perfect. I often will be on here talking how it should be done. The reality is I don't always do it that way. But ask me if all the times I break my own ideas and rules, if it is more profitable or less. It's usually less. But I am human. So sometimes I will add, I fucked up on ZRX a little bit this week. I thought I'm so excited by all that stuff we talked about on Wednesday, this massive buy volume coming in. I'm just going to load up on perps and load up on perps. And then I saw it coming down and break down here. So kind of like, oh, I tried to break out and then I sunk down and it closed the 4 hour. So I just thought, that looks so weak, Okay, I'm going to abandon ship and I'm going to try to get it in this reload zone. And I still might, but for now, obviously you can see that I just got shaken out or whatever, but I ended up closing on the bearish retest of this. Not enough people did that apparently. So it's kept going high. So, I kind of messed up on that. Like if I could wait for the reload zone or I can just buy some spot in here with no particular amount of size that I need to use a tight stop loss. And then if it does dip against me, then I can just look to perps here to kind of go more, because I'd say the probability of like these lows getting lost and it's just like, oh, bear market are like so low. So all I have to do then is size in such a way that I don't have to worry about the short-term noise like this. So my mistake was sizing up through here, such that I didn't really want to hold it down to this, even though my liquidation was like super low. Still funding for days, So I actually closed it and now I'm out of it. And now obviously I feel like it's going to just go crazy. So that's my real story about how I lost a little money this week. But, sized loss, nothing crazy, nothing to write home about. 0.8% of like my trade account. So boring amounts, man. Play with boring amounts and you will last longer. And the longer you last, the more opportunity you have to become super rich. Reach your goals. Timothy Lebon, appreciate that. Sometimes I put it in. Can you look at MTA? Yeah, let's take a look at MTA, guys. What's the time? Oh, 4:01. We're at the top of the hour. We're going to wrap up here shortly. I've still got to record the preamble for ID. And my mom just moved to a new place. So we're going over there to give her a little help with some boxes. bring her some champagne. So I got to get to that in a couple hours. So I got to get to that preamble. But let's do MTA and a few others before we move on. Wow. Okay, I'm all messed up. I swear I had. You know what it is? I chart everything on my Binance BTC pairs template. And suddenly, recently, I've started doing a lot of it on my FTX template. So that's why I don't know where everything is now. I'm in transition. What? MTAP, I think is where it is on here. Yeah, there we go. That's that MTA juice. So look at this. This is telling a story here. So we had the break from the lows. We had the bullish retest. We rallied all the way up to the chaos PRZ. Great trade. Clap yourself on the back. That's awesome. Back down to the reload zone. Okay, let's get busy. 786 tag. Break up, set the high. This is kind of like a local reload zone. That's the cool thing here. If you didn't want to try to catch a dagger, you could just draw up a local one, pull up this. Then once we broke out of that with rising volume, you could say, okay, we're headed to the highs again. Again, reload zone here, tap of support. Just kind of got front run. This thing got shit on right up around $5 again, but back down onto that support to the 702 sweet spot again. And so, yeah, this whole range, if I'm trading spot especially, and I'm bullish on MTA, this whole range looks pretty appetizing. Because, again, looking at the market as a whole, because you got to realize, if you plan to be around for years, you're going to see so many different charts. When I saw this in the summer, I was like, damn, that looks like shit. Once we broke this level, I was like, I'm getting the hell out. None of this existed yet. This was like all underwater like area. And we were on stream back in August, kind of like, oh, get the hell out. MTA below $5. Let's wait. And so that's great. And right now, though, you've got this base, you've got this patient base, you got this breakout to like kind of a 0.5 throwback. And so this just looks like the beginning of a bull market for this coin. This does not look like, does that look like a high? Does this look like a place to get bearish? Not at all. But there will be. And chances are by the time to be bearish comes in, it'll be so hard to think bearishly about it. Let's just play some games here. Whatever this is going to look like. Oh, MTA is the future. And then, new highs in volume here. Pull back. Oh, make new highs, but the volume fell off and there was no volume to back up this higher price. That's actually where you want to start paying yourself. And then it dumps down, makes a lower low, squeezes the bears. Oh, markets, they're relentless. And that's your short reload zone. And that is where you're supposed to get bearish. Not think it's going to go to new highs. It might, but if you've got bearish divergence, lowering volume, wait for that short reload zone after the structure fail, and you've got yourself a nice trade. This is where I longed MTA. This is where I shorted MTA. I'm a trader now, and I can wait for the next bull market. That is kind of how I play the cycles, at least in theory. So the key is, I guess the key for me really would be automating. My God. I've been thinking about it a lot lately, trying to automate this shit because it's so repeatable. The kind of stuff I do, the more I do it, I realize it's got to be programmable. At least like to set alerts, and I can do my own entries, but just to be able to see things like that. But that's it. This looks bullish. It's just a matter of when, and same old story. Do I want to sit in MTA with a huge amount of my capital and maybe miss some other stuff that looks even more ready? Is that even an important question? If I can make 5x off something this year, that's a 500% return. Is that good enough? I don't know. So many questions, so many ways to do it. And that's why it's so hard for people to tell you how to trade. People ask me like, hey man, teach me your setups. I'm like, I don't know. It's all very personal. But I can just, share with you guys as much as I can. And if MTA does go and do all that at some level, we'll look back on today and be like, remember that time we were talking about MTA at $2.70? It's worth $20. I don't know. I don't know much about it, but Messi's remaining bullish on it after all this time. So I figured it has to have something going for it. M stable, all that fun stuff. Tell you what I'm really bullish on, and I can't go through an episode without talking about it now that it's down in the reload zone, is ID. Nothing's changed. A lot of people have been like, man, you still an ID? I'm like, why wouldn't I be? My thesis wasn't that it would pump to $5 in a straight line or wherever I think it's going. I spoke to the founder, Bob Reed, yesterday. I had an interview, told you guys earlier. That's coming up. I asked him a question today just to clarify. Let me see if I can find it. I'll give you guys a little sneak peek. They've disclosed Kina Bank and BRI, which is the bank in Indonesia, one of the major banks. These guys are working with big banks. And I looked up Kina Bank. This is all kind of a preview for this preamble that I'm going to record after this show. But they've got 30 million retail clients in their borrowing and lending. 30 million. So when they're partnered with you and they're saying, you know, we're keen to use this identity, KYC, totally compliant, fully regulated, DeFi accessible, layer 2 chain that you've built, and you've got 30 million borrow lend clients, and that's just Indonesia, and these guys are now licensed globally. There's only one other crypto company that has that license that I know of, and that is crypto.com. And their market cap is 5 billion plus. Everest ID, 89 million. So yeah, I've still got my bag. And yeah, I think this reload zone is the perfect place for me to add to it. And yes, I plan on doing that. I added a little the other day, somewhere around 79 cents. What are we now? Oh, we're 79 cents. So yeah, man. And that's sort of like, oh, wow, step already went down. Yeah. Step alert already went off. Let's go see it. Oh, I got sidetracked from what I was saying about ID. Now, here's the thing. Some people, you know, you talk about your coin and people are like, oh, you're just trying to pump your bags. I don't care, man. There's 91 of you watching. I love every one of you, and I appreciate all of you being here, but you're not going to pump my bag. I'm not talking about this to shell it. I am sharing my thesis on a coin that I think the market has yet to discover. I mean, you can see it. If you watch the video I did with Bob Reed later, you hear all the things he said, and you just think to yourself, well, that's bizarre. It seems undervalued. And that's because it is. It's new, and they're not really doing a lot of flashy marketing. They're not doing any influencer hype pumps. Like, they didn't hire, you know, the top 2 or 3 YouTubers to rush out and do all these mentions and tell everyone to buy. They don't care. They're building a real product, and they're going to have these partnerships with real banks, real institutions. They're partnered with FTX. Like, they're coming in, and they're going to grow as fast or slow as they need to in token price. I don't think they care. So that's my take on this, man. This see me in 3 months and tell me that 79 cents doesn't look like a reasonable place to take risk. There is no guarantees. But if I'm a bull in a bull market and I'm seeing an asset like this with fundamentals like these in my zone, and I'm not willing to lay some risk on the table, what the hell am I doing in the market? That's sort of my take. That's what I tell myself when I look in the mirror in the morning and I get out of bed and I'm, you know, at the shower getting ready for my day, and I'm like, who are you if you're not buying more ID today? So with that, let's get this. Whoa. Having said that, we could stay down here for a few days or a week. You never know. So like I said down here when I was loading up, I said, wait for the rising buy volume and the breakout. And we got that here. We got that here. We got that here. And then there was a retest even there, and then a retest. So you can wait for the next uptrend to start if you really want to. That's what I don't know. That's not what I'm doing with this one, but I can do that for some, because you're just like, well, if it sits down here, I mean, that's May 16th. That's 2 weeks. Think of what I can do in 2 weeks with that same capital. You know, set a price alert, and then when that price alert goes, then start getting really aggressive about finding a dip. You risk missing it, but you take off the risk of waiting for it. I'm really bullish on this one. Can you tell? But it's not your, you know, it's not your flashy, sexy, this and that just yet. But I can already hear the narratives, and I can obviously see the use case, because you'll have to lock up tokens on the platform to gain access. Banks, banking partners, institutions, they will have to lock up a lot, like 250,000 tokens, and there's only 800 million. And then users have to lock up anywhere from 10 to whatever, depending on what access they want. So every single user, every single institution, every single party that uses this app or plays in this ecosystem will have to lock tokens. Very exciting. But, probably like 3 to 12 to 18 to 24 month outlook if you want to get into that big crypto.com comparison. All right, step already broke the level. Ooh. So that's where I set my alert. Looks like the market did not want to accept that level. Literally just came down and said, fuck your alert, and then came right back up. Wow. That is somebody. And that's kind of what I was saying, right? I bet you that was somebody in the pre-sale, whatever, just giving it a nice little, okay, I'm taking profit, dump it. Somebody bought it right back up. Interesting. Very interesting. Yeah, Jonesy knows where it's at. He said, my free bag of ID is sitting nicely. I haven't even checked the price. And that's it. Because if you were loading through something like this, and then price goes up 100%, just say you bought in the middle of that little range, you only needed price to go here, and you already have a free bag for the rest of your life, or the rest of the year, or however long you need. And if you did what I did, well, I didn't play this perfectly for this first leg, but I did get some out at the 618, which was pretty cool. It's just a matter of, how much did I? But I took about 25% of my bag off here, my position, because I just thought, okay, like that's a cool trade. It's up, whatever, 250%. And then now I've rebought that back down here. So I'm growing my bag. Could I have been more aggressive and taken off half or even more and then bought even more? Yeah. Who cares? That's loser thinking. If I made a good trade and I made some money, I don't sit time wasting energy about how I could have made it even better. Unless there's like an operational thing that I fucked up and I can reflect on that and do better. But this kind of went exactly to plan. Except for it didn't go to $100 overnight. That was low-key part of my real plan. LOL. But yeah, that's kind of what I see happening. It's just a matter of, in my mind, it's just a matter of how long do we chill here? And I have no idea. Very comfortable with this one. And then Jonesy, Jonesy's got a free bag. He doesn't even look at it. It's off the books. Put some risk on, take your risk off, save the free bag, and it can do whatever it wants. And you got it. So great trade, Jonesy. Proud of you, man. You did that. You earned it. And then, what a nice trade to have a free spot in. Adam Seller says he'll pump my bags. He's got 300. All right, let me find a low shit cap that you can pump. Just wait for it. Can you check out Farm? Ooh, yeah. I shouldn't assume. I look at that and I'm like, oh, Farm sounds like a two-bit shitcoin. But I shouldn't assume. Said that about Link too, without looking into it. Appreciate that. Jonesy said he'll pump my coin too. Yeah, we do end up in a lot of the same coins. Luke Reeves is asking about targets. Look, technically, my targets will just be based on fibs. So let's draw one. Oh, let's draw a chaos fib, because this is probably my primary as far as like paying myself and getting locked into something a little longer term, free position. That's like, if we break out here, I'm pretty confident that this chaos will come into play. $4.57. Another way to look for a target from this consolidation, whoa, not like that, would be like this. And that's your 618. 373. So that's like a fib extension of this first leg. So let's see if we can do like ABCD harmonic. Yeah, that's like 280. It's a little more conservative. But yeah, there's a few ways to find targets out there. Fundamentally, what is the target? This app is global. It's going to be the it's basically going to be an identity layer that underpins the DeFi products across multiple blockchains, including things like Ethereum, Solana, Binance Smart Chain. They have real potential. And people say, well, who cares about identity? Who cares? Look, the majority of the money that's out there, God, I'm just doing my whole preamble now. I should be recording this. I have to do this after the show anyways, which we are going to wrap here in a sec. But think about the amount of funds in the world. Let's go back to studio, actually. We really should wrap. Sorry about farm, dude. I know I said I would do it, but I lied. Thing before I go do that thing. Let's just talk quick about regulation and KYC. Why is it important? Well, the majority of the capital in the world is still firewalled in a regulated environment. The prop traders, the investors, the family offices, whatever you want to call it, the big money. That stuff it has to participate in a regulatory framework, through a regulatory framework. So a lot of crypto, the stuff that goes big, the big plays, whether you like it or not, I like XMR, I want to not pay taxes. Okay, whatever. But if you want to be a part of what's going to be the future of finance, it's got to be regulated, I think. And so ID is this regulation layer. They are fully regulated, basically operating as this global finance, bank, but they can also provide an ID regulatory layer to other blockchains like Solana. And I'll let Bob Reed explain it in the video that we have coming up, because he did a much better job. But it's bigger than just like an app with swaps and borrow lend. That's all I'm going to say. So that's why I'm doing that video. It's everything you need to know. Should be out sometime early next week. So if you haven't already and you guys enjoyed the show today and you want to smash up the like, I'd appreciate that. There's 87 of you here. 30 of you have let me know that you like the show. So if you don't mind just clicking that, it helps with the SEO. It matters. And appreciate it. And if you want to sub to the channel, you want to follow me on Twitter at randomtask555. I'm going to be taking a little break through next week as I unplug for a little bit, reset. I have not had a vacation, a proper unplug vacation, in like 15 months. So I am going to be unplugging for a little bit through next week, but I will be back, and I'm looking forward to seeing all of you again. Happy trading, and until next time, whatever you do, always play from a position of strength. Take care.